Hi, this is Zubair here. This is going to be covering my potential league starts, and also a bit of what I think will be strong at league start. Anyway, so there are a few criteria I kind of put out there when I want to pick a league starter, and this is some of them. I assume that you would have the same concerns, so would be my top 5 league starters. So my top 5 league starters will be, the criteria for my top 5 league starters will be that it is reasonably tanky, can deal with Crucible. It is zoomy because you're going to probably be doing as many maps as possible in order to get progression on things. It has decent clear, and it scales damage well without requiring much investment. So to get all these things is relatively tough, mainly because once you have a certain amount of interest in a build, you're going to find a lot of competition for the same item pieces, and unless you're ahead of the curve, meaning that you've pushed in the maps faster or started doing bosses faster or hit T16s faster, you're just generally going to lag behind the bulk of majority of players, and that puts a lot of pressure on you because you end up buying stuff that is too expensive when you need them, and then when people move past them and they don't want them anymore, you're kind of you're left holding the bag, right? Because the prices on the things that you already own will drop, which means that for you, your ability to sell them off and then change to another build or scale to another build is going to be a lot harder. So I would always suggest builds that generally most people aren't going to be playing, or they're just way too clunky. For that reason, there's some builds I'm not going to suggest to you because likely you're going to have a tougher time playing them with those considerations, right? So my top builds for league start will always be a miner, obviously, because miners right now, the impression is that most people think that they're going to be bad, which is not necessarily true. It's not going to be as strong as it used to be, but you can still make it work. And the things that you can scale it with are relatively cheap, so that's why I would suggest you go for them. The second as well is to go for Coldot. The reason why I suggest Coldot, even though a lot of content creators say Coldot is strong, is because Coldot playstyle is actually very, very annoying for a lot of people. And because Coldot is that annoying, most people don't like playing Coldot. So because most people don't like playing Coldot, that means you're generally going to be able to continue scaling it until maybe about a week, where people then get bored of it and move on to something else. So I would suggest Coldot for that reason. It is tanky. Chill is a very strong defensive mechanic, and you're generally going to do quite well on it. The third build I'm going to suggest is going to be Ignite, but I'm going to be very specific on the type of Ignite build, right? Ignite has gotten some damage nerfs, but I think that if you play a specific type of Ignite build, you will still be tanky enough, and you still will be able to scale it to about maybe 10 million damage, and I would suggest going for Ignite. And the Ignite build that I will be suggesting will be EA, so Explosive Arrow Champion. That will still be very strong, especially with the helmet. So that is the what is that helmet called again? I keep forgetting the name. Wilma's Recuro. Yeah. So if you can get Wilma's, your damage will just be pretty good, and you should be scaling it pretty okay with a Quill Rain, and yeah. So EA totems, if you want a POB for that, because it's a lot harder to find one that's useful or good, I would suggest looking at Ruthless. Not really at Sanctum, because right now at Sanctum you don't really have very good EA trees. They've already scaled to the point where you are not able to access the gear that is needed on the first week. So suggestion is you go to Ruthless. You realize that a lot of gear there is still pretty bad. So anyone who's running an EA build on Ruthless, you should generally make it work within the first week. So that is 3: Coldot, EA, and Mines. Okay, the fourth one is going to be Chaos Dot. And Chaos Dot is going to be stuff like Toxic Rain, Caustic Arrow. I think I think this is going to be a popular archetype, especially with Pathfinder. And you're generally going to find it more difficult to scale because players like Subtractum will probably... Was it Subtractum? No, it was Palstron. Sorry, Palstron is most likely going to play that as a league start, Pathfinder Toxic Rain, or Champion. But I would say that there's ways to scale it that doesn't require a lot of investment, and most people don't know about it. So Val Caustic Arrow is going to be pretty good if you have this particular unique. So there's a thing called Valkyries. So Valkyries Bronze Scale Gauntlets gives you +5 to level of socketed Val Gems. This gives you +5 on your Caustic Arrow. If you get a double corruption implicit, you can get it to +9, which means you can get up to a level 29 Caustic Arrow, Val Caustic Arrow, in pretty much a week, right? If you snipe for the right basis. And that's kind of the reason why I'm suggesting this, because your single target damage is going to be on a 4-link. I've suggested this to my friend. He's going to play a Death's Oath League start on an Occultist. And I said, you know, if you're going to do that, single target, it's going to be a bit hard until you get a decent bow. And obviously a decent bow is expensive. You want +3 on gems, and you want like Chaos Dot, you know, Hunter mods. So it's going to be hard to get. This, however, is going to be pretty easy to get. And I think he POB'd it. It's like 3 mil DPS Caustic Arrow, but it's a 4-link, right? So this is what I would suggest for your Chaos Dot. This is how I would suggest it scales. And that's pretty much it. For the last build, which is the 5th build, I'm going to suggest Fizz Dot. So that is going to be Corrupting Fever. There's only one really good Fizz Dot, Corrupting Fever. And it's going to be pretty much what Rutu has always championed for his league start. I'm not sure if he's going to play this league, but I'm a bit worried because on one hand, I do know a lot of people will play it if Ru plays it, but I also know that it's kind of now a more niche build that most people won't want to try. So yeah, I would suggest going a Gladiator and not Champion. I know Rutu loves Champion. And the reason being is, instead of going Hemophilia Gloves, I would suggest going Valkyries. And it's for the same reason. When you now have Val Reap, and Val Reap has very good Fizz Dot damage for the Val skill, right? Not the normal Reap. Normal Reap's kind of okay. The Val skill has pretty good single target damage on the bleeding or Fizz Dot ground. I don't know what it's called, I forgot, whatever. But you can get level 29 gem on your Val Reap. And as long as you have the souls, you can just use it to melt a boss, right? So single target can kind of be solved that way. And then Corrupting Fever on Gladiator, you know, with Poet's Pen, the clears really fast, really fast, and you don't have to worry too much about it. So that's why I'm suggesting Corrupting Fever as well. I think the scaling is super good. You just really need a 6-link Skin of the Lords with the right colors, and you should just be zooming with Fizz Dot. So those are my 5 builds I would suggest. You notice there's a lot of dot skills there, and it's just generally how it works, where in the first week dot skills tended to do very well, but they tend to taper off. So like after the first week into the second week, they tend to not do as much damage, but it's amazing league starters because you're just going to have very good clear, pretty decent tankiness. You're going to be able to zoom through maps. So that's why I suggest it. Okay, I'm gonna then go into what I would want to start in the league starter. I've chosen Mines, and the other one is a Wilma's Recuro build, but it's not what most people are going for. I'm kind of split between the two, but right now when I'm looking at the POB and looking at the damage and the scaling and the opportunities, I do feel that Mines actually have a lot more potential, and that's pretty much probably why I will start one. I have changed my opinion. I don't think Sabo is the way to go, mainly because the changes to Sabo have been pretty bad in terms of in terms of top end damage scaling. And Sabo as well doesn't really give you much utility other than blind less damage and what's it called again? What's that thing? Life regen per second. So I am leaning towards a Deadeye Ranger, because I also feel that there's ways to scale this if you don't want to run Icicle mines anymore. So in the same way as the Valkyries set up for a lot of the Val skills, mines scale very well on a 4-link because of March of the Legion, right? Because March of the Legion pretty much gives you a pseudo 6-link, right? It gives you +5 level of gems for your mines, and then if you get a corrupted implicit, it gives you +9, right? Same with Valkyries. And this is not just your one single target ability, it's basically your clear ability as well. And then if you run like Icicle mines, which is cold damage as well, Heat Shiver is a pretty good way of scaling this. I am afraid that Heat Shiver's tier has been nerfed. If there is a rarity nerf for this and it's harder to find, it will be hard to get your Heat Shiver. Hopefully not. But because of the way you have this two interacting, it's actually very, very cheap to get damage for this. As you can tell, I'm actually looking at a very conservative value of 7 mil DPS on Pinnacles, right? Which is, I think, pretty much higher than most average league starters. And all the items here are pretty accomplishable because they're uniques. Most of them are uniques, right? The only things you should be worried about is trying to get decent jewels. You can always upgrade them, and I'm pretty sure nobody is going to snipe jewels away from you. Shroud the Lightless with a 3-socket might be a bit hard. Getting a 2-socket probably is a priority instead, and then you scale to a 3-socket. You can also go for a Calms instead of a Shroud, which gives you more life, but no pen. So here's my 2 cents on this. I will most likely start this. I like the zoominess. If you look at this, 204% movement speed modifier because of Gale Force and Berserk. So these two movement speed steroids, action speed steroids, it is going to make you very, very fast, very, very zoomy. And with Ricochet, you're going to be able to basically chain off walls. You have additional chain and you chain off walls, so your clear is going to be pretty nice. You can drop the Snake Pit. So I'm pretty much thinking of dropping the Snake Pit I'm probably going to drop the Snake Pit. For Divination Distillate, this is something I've found very interesting. You can permanently keep this up in a non-ruthless setting. Let me explain why. In a non-ruthless setting, you won't have the restriction of less flash charges gained while during effect. So as long as you have this here, which gives you life loss every 3 seconds and life loss gain 1 charge every 3 seconds, you can pretty much tap this, right, and get it to just run. And with that, I think you should have enough duration on this to pretty much keep it up all the time, which means it takes a lot of pressure off your resistances. I wouldn't say I want to rely on this for my resistances per se, but if I have to, I will. It also helps with overcapping your resistances to deal with elemental weakness, with curses, and with exposure. So I'm okay with this. I think this is cool. And I think this is a very nice mechanic to use because increase quantity, increase rarity, and you actually don't really need the life gain from this. I can actually fill the rest up with utility flask. And because I am a Deadeye, I'm a ranger, I can always get forbidden jewels for Pathfinder and make this build even stronger. I'm also looking at all the other alternatives, which is Eye of Winter mines. So if I decide to move away from a Wrath Pit setup, not really away from Wrath Pit, if I will move towards a 6 link setup on the chest, right, and then I get rid of the Shroud of Lightness, I can consider going in Eye of Winter setup. Eye of Winter works very well with chain, so that's interesting. I think that's good. And then the extra projectiles as well, it scales better with the extra projectiles than Icicle Mine does. And secondly, if I do find a weapon that allows my Eye of Winter to poison, I can also scale a poison build. I can remove all the crit nodes. my skill will definitely chill because it's a cold skill, and I would also use Heat Shiver to basically get a huge amount of chaos damage, and then basically poison off that. And then my Forbidden Jewel will be probably Master Toxicist. I'm not sure if mine's counted as when you kill. If it doesn't, then I'll go for Nature's Reprisal for the Wither and Wither effect. Because this definitely affects mines, right? Because chance to inflict Wither for 2 seconds on hit is global. So if I can get the Eye of Winter weapon, Eye of Winter can poison, you can pretty much scale Eye of Winter and then just go Pathfinder and then run a poison build instead of this. You'll have to drop the Raw Pith, you do a bit of respecking, but generally it should still work. So those are my plans for League Start. I think there's a lot of opportunities here. I love this small cluster jewel setup. So you see this small cluster jewel here, gives you Whispers of Doom, gives you Arcane Sentry, gives you Glacial Cage, gives you Winter's Embrace, Throat Seeker, and Efficient Explosive. This is very, very effective. A very, very efficient node for cold-based damage mines, especially Heat Shiver. And then I like this area here as well because you do get the crit nodes. You don't have the path here anymore. You get the crit nodes and you also get Snowforged, right? So you get Snowforged, crit node, suppression, everything here is useful. You get Leaf Shade as well. So I consider this very efficient. You path here, you get more crit as well, and you get the mine nodes here. So yeah, anyway, this is one of my League starters. I'm gonna cover the next one, which is the Wilma's Recuro. I haven't really fleshed that out because I don't think I will go that build. I do feel that I might want to consider this, but yeah, I think it's a bit unfortunate that it got kind of nerfed a little. But okay, I'm gonna briefly show this to you. So the strategy here is you're going champion. You're using Wilma's Recuro. So Wilma's Recuro will give you basically an attack speed steroid. The attack speed steroid, you're going to make it even stronger with a Vow Haste and Vow Haste. And because of Divine Blessing and Eldritch Battery, you're going to have both Vow Haste and Haste, or rather Haste up permanently and Vow Haste when you need to damage bosses, right? You also have Smite. You don't actually need this to be Val Smite. You can actually move the Val Smite. Let me just check this. Okay, you can also, you just have Smite, not Val Smite, and then you have Val Haste. You're obviously gonna run this on the March of the Legion for +5. You can get this to +9. I haven't POB'd this, but basically the strategy here is you're going to put Earthbreaker totems on your Doriani's Fist. That allows your Doriani's Fist to be a totem ability, right? And then you get the extra totems from Wilma's Recuro. And you also get Ancestral Bond. This is elemental damage as well that benefits you. Unfortunately, Doriani's Fist has 100% chance to hit. So you don't really need the accuracy here, but still, it's pretty nice. All right, so what you do here is you're going to get lots of flat lightning damage from unarmed melee hits on this. You're also going to scale a lot of flat lightning damage from your Smite, and hopefully when you have enough reservation for Wrath, right? I'm not sure if you will probably be able to keep permanent adrenaline up with First to Strike last to 4, but at the same time, if there's stun swapping, you can actually drop this and go here, which gives you less damage taken. Makes you way more tanky, right? You can see the tankiness here. I don't even have resistances yet, but basically you're scaling auras, and you're scaling totems. So you're pathing here to get all the totem nodes, you're pathing here to get the aura nodes here as well, and then here as well, and you're basically just steroiding your auras, getting the insane flat multiplier from Doriani's Touch. Doriani's Touch is 600% damage effectiveness, so all the flat damage you steroid is going to go into your Doriani's Touch. You have added lightning damage. You can always upgrade this by changing this to I'll show you, to awaken added lightning. Okay, wait. I can't. POB doesn't. So you can go awaken added lightning damage. You can also go awaken lightning penetration and awaken multi-strike into this glove. And so the late game scaling, I don't think the scaling for this will go beyond 10 mil. I think 10 mil is where the limits of it. You will definitely want to run crit instead. So you run a what's it called again? Unarmed Rigwell's Curse. Yep. So you run a Rigwell's Curse. You start scaling claw nodes and claw crit. So for example, this here. And then here. You can even go, I think, Assassin's Mark. See if you can get more crit elsewhere. But basically, this is how it goes. You just scale crit, try to get your crit chance as high as possible, get a pretty high crit multiplier. What is this? Yikes. And then, yeah. So this is an alternative plan to the miner. The difference is, and the reason why I'm not as keen to play this, is because this is going to be considerably less zoomier than the Icicle miner. Clear is going to be delayed because you have to summon your totems, and your totems have to hit stuff to kill things. So I would consider this like 2 times slower than that of the miner. That's the kind of reason why I'm not leaning towards this. I do like the mechanics behind it. The other thing I'm worried about is Wilma's Recuro will probably be popular, which means that access to it will be pretty hard. Everything else is pretty cheap, right? You should be able to get the rest pretty easily, but I am worried about Wilma's. So the only thing that I'm truly worried about for the miner setup is whether or not Heat Shiver's rarity has been nerfed, and whether or not I'll be able to get it early. And that's the only concern. But for the rest, it should be, should be good. I would probably suggest getting 2 Thessalio signs early on your Icicle mine, so the Icicle mine does a lot more damage. I would also suggest, if possible, get Heat Shiver, double Thessalios, and hopefully a Bitter Dream, right? Or a March of Legion early, and then you should be able to just scale damage pretty well on the Icicle mines. Anyway, that's pretty much all there is to it. Hope you enjoyed this video, and peace.